Hello, hello. I hope you are doing well. Okay, to get that camera a bit. Okay, there we are. Okay, who do we have in the chat? We have Jens saying hello, everybody. Well, hello to you, Jens. Bowie says hello, everyone. And Superga says buongiorno. The same to you. Okay, funny thing happened the just 2 hour and a half well just under 2 hours ago I got banned from a fellow YouTuber's Twitch account because the moderator was of the opinion that I was doing self-promotion, which I was not. So I appealed to the moderator, but to no avail. So I'm now permanently banned from said said YouTuber's Twitch account. So I'm not, as of right now, I'm not yet banned from the YouTube account, but who knows? So shame on you. I'm not going to throw in names because that would be, I think, counterproductive. Counterproductive to start calling names, but just reporting on recent events of my endeavors in the great world of known to us as the internet. Okay, we have 3 viewers now. Okay, I think we have the previous 3. Yes, Boo, Super Ghost. Okay, so first I would like to introduce you to my co-host Stefan. Here he is. You can go and sit on the shelf, on the little shelf there. Here we have Bertil. And we have, for the first time ever on my channel, you get to meet. This is a black sheep named Olaf. His name is Olaf. He also has a friend who I think is white, but he doesn't have a name. He is Olaf. His name is Olaf because we purchased him on our great journey, where Bertil was also with us on our great journey. We went to Savonlinna, which is a city in eastern Finland near the Russian border, and we went. There's a medieval castle there, Saint Olaf's Castle. It's Olavinlinna in Finnish, but which doesn't really translate well, but it's the official name is Saint Olaf's Castle because Saint Olaf was the is a patron saint or something. Anyway, back in the day when the castle was built hundreds and hundreds of years ago, they believed, it was a common belief, at least across the what is now the modern border, and many other invaders from elsewhere in Finland thought that black goats were a bad omen, that it was a curse, that if you saw a black goat somewhere, it was of the devil. So for hundreds of years they kept at least one black goat there in the castle, and when they saw invaders coming, they just took out the black goats and the to scare off the imminent invaders. So that is why they sold these adorable little goats in the souvenir shop. So and because he is from Saint Olaf's castle, he is a black goat from Saint Olaf's castle. He got the name Olaf. So for the first time ever, you have met Olaf. Supergoat says it might have been different if you started before you finished. LOL. Joke alert, joke alert. Okay. That was just, no, I have a brain freeze. But, okay. Serious matters. Serious matters. Serious matters first. Supergirl says bad puns at ready. LOL. Okay. So we have some more really tough things to talk about today. Obviously, we have. Let's go and see. Yes. Yeah. Fine. Okay. Okay. We have the data for progress. What the fuck am I looking at here? Okay. So, for example, let's go here. The South Dakota case we discussed last time. Horrible, horrible things, and we have now horrible things happening in Texas. Bad news wise. Parents have been suspended from their employment, etc. And the Child Protective Services have been involved because, if I'm not completely mistaken, a child was taken into custody by the state, but by the state Child Protective Services, because this poor child's parents were supportive of their transgender daughter's transition and had acquired some medical help for this child to get to help with the dysphoria and shit. Um, there is a case, Doe versus Texas. You can go. That's a different case, but there's a court case pending as of right now, called Doe versus Texas. I will get it for you. Just a moment. Okay, here we have it. A bit of it. Okay, a district court judge, County, in Travis County, Texas, has granted temporary restraining order Wednesday to prevent the state from performing child abuse investigation of a family seeking gender-affirming care for their transgender child. This is Doe versus Texas, saying the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU of Texas, and LGBTQ civil rights organization Lambda Legal filed a lawsuit Tuesday on behalf of the parents of a transgender girl. The child's mother, an employee of the State Department of Family and Protective Services, had been suspended from her job of last week because of last week's legal opinion by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, saying gender affirming treatments and procedures for transgender children can constitute a form of child abuse. Paxton's legal opinion prompted Governor Greg Abbott to instruct the Family and Protective Services Missioner Jamie Masters, quote unquote, to conduct a prompt and thorough investigation of any reported instances of these abusive procedures in the state of Texas. So basically, taking children into custody because their parents support their children, support and love their children. Hence, just because parents love their child and support them for who they are, is the reason for the state of Texas to charge them with child abuse and get their parents suspended from their government jobs. Excuse me. Yeah. Go figure. Okay, Judge Amy Clark Meacham wrote in an order that the family named as plaintiffs in the lawsuit will, and I quote, will suffer irreparable injury unless the defendants, Abbott and the Department of Family and Protective Services Commissioner Jamie Masters, are restrained from investigating families of transgender children. Finally, a sensible judge. In the state of Texas, it's not. It's something that shouldn't be taken for granted. That there is a sensible judge in the entirety of the United States of America, let alone in a state like Texas. Bowie says we need bills that really protect, that really help. We need bills that really help the world, not shit bills that discriminate precisely. And I would perhaps go back into the Norway case that I talked about recently, the hate speech case in Norway, in the Bergen area court. We had where a 52-year-old Norwegian male had thought it was a good idea to slander, etc., to double down on hate speech online, but got a 21 days of suspended 21-day suspended prison sentence, 15,000 Norwegian kroners, which is about just under 1,700 US dollars and 1,600 euros in fines, and then something like 3,000 and change Norwegian kroners in court fees and some administrative fees. So yeah, I and as of right now, I have no idea whether or not it has been appealed, but I would assume I would have heard from my source if it had been appealed by now, uh, and I would assume that it would have been appealed by now. Okay, let's go back to the CNN article. We go, okay, without temporary restraining order, Meacham, the judge wrote, the plaintiffs identified as Jane, John, and Mary Doe would face, and I quote, the imminent and ongoing deprivation of their constitutional rights, the potential loss of necessary medical care, and the stigma attached to being the subject to unfounded child abuse investigations, and that is exactly true. Additionally, Judge Meacham wrote that if Jane Doe, a DFPS, Department of Family and Protective Services employee, were placed on a child abuse registry as a result of the investigation. Oh yes, child abuse. If Child Protective Services come knocking on, even investigates your family, you go apparently in the state of Texas. If your family is even investigated, no, if there are only allegations of something of child abuse, you are automatically placed in the registry. So Jane Doe could lose the ability to practice her profession, and both Jane and John Doe could lose their ability to work with minors and volunteer in the community. Abbott and Paxton were listed as candidates for Republican primary. I, I would assume preliminary primary elections or such. Okay, the lawsuit was filed on behalf of a Department of Family and Protective Services employee. Actually, wow. According to the lawsuit filed by the ACLU and Lambda Legal, the plaintiffs the plaintiffs are plural. There are more than one plaintiffs, okay, are identified as a clinical psychologist, Dr. Megan Mooney, and uh, and I quote, quote unquote, supportive parents, Jane and John Doe, individually and as next friends of friend. They even these fuckers even sued the 16-year-old friends of the child. What in the actual fuck? Come on. Mary Doe is the 16-year-old transgender girl diagnosed with gender dysphoria. These fuckers went to 16-year-old children and sued them. If that is not child abuse, what is? Hmm? Derp. Excuse me, I need water. And then they explain what gender dysphoria is. Jane Doe, an employee of the DFPS, asked her employer to clarify how governor's orders would affect the agency's policy according to the lawsuit. She was then placed on leave, and I quote, because she has a transgender daughter with a medical need for treatment of gender dysphoria. Bowie says only in fucking Texas. No, that's not. This is well possible in all the southern states: Arkansas, Missouri, Florida, all of those. It's possible, but as for right now, only in Texas. So growing up, I always heard the phrase. Growing up, I always heard the phrase "only in America," possible only in America. Uh, whenever something was just so incredibly, uh, Jens says all Republican states. Yes, all Republican states, namely, every single state in every single southern state, and like Ohio, the like Utah with all the Mormons and shit. But growing up, I heard this phrase. Okay, I grew up in a small town, but I grew up in a small industrial town, but in literally middle of nowhere, but almost middle of nowhere. So, but it's growing up in the 90s. It was also always said, only in America. Um, that if something was just so outlandish, you heard something that from some ridiculous shit from across the pond. Is it only in America? So this kind of the kind of thing only in America. I don't know if this is an urban legend, because I remember hearing this 20 years ago, at least 20 years ago, 20 years ago or something. Um, I I think Bowie says Florida and Texas are the first worst thus far. I think Bowie is American, so I might as well just ask. Um, I'm pretty sure that this is just an urban legend or a urban legend, but uh, this was something that was going around 20 years ago, um, of man, a guy bought a a what do you call what do you call those things? Uh, uh, Motorhome, camper van, and the manual had said that it has cruise control, and the man assumed that when he puts the cruise control on, the car will drive itself. The cruise control will drive itself, and then he drove the car when the camper van went off the road, and some versions say off the cliff. Uh, and because the man put the cruise control on and went to the back to make some coffee because he thought the car would drive itself. And then he survived and sued the company. I think the car company, the company who made the car, or the company who sold him the car, and sued the company, or both, one or both companies, for hundreds of millions of euros in damages, because the manual did not specifically say that you have to actually hold the steering wheel while you have the cruise control on. I don't know if this is true, or even I'm not even I don't know if it's even remotely possible to have such things occurring the yeah, in the lands across the pond. That sounds about right. Can yeah, so yeah, and they can sue pretty much, for when they put because the manual of a stove doesn't specifically say don't put your hand on it because it's hot, and if you put your hand on it and burn yourself, you can sue the company, the utilities company, or the company which made the stove, for hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. I don't know if it's even remotely possible. It's, excuse me, I need to open the balcony door. Okay, here we are. Okay, I need to take a moment again. Yes, I just noticed I had a message on Discord. Uh, Bowie is in the chat again saying in Florida, a nutcase tried to arrest a female sheriff. He arrived with many firearms and supplies, and the police basically beat the mutt senseless and arrested him. I'm not surprised. Uh, like these what do they call it? Auditors, First Amendment auditors, and all that shit. You know, and sovereign citizens. Yes, that is something that it's just that's just something that couldn't. I don't think it could. It's not. That's not a thing in Europe. Okay, in in UK, it's some sort of a thing because there are these ancient laws that are certain, that are still lingering from centuries ago. You know what the American frauditors refer to, that they don't have to, uh, they don't need a driver's license because they're not driving. They are traveling. They have the right to travel based on some ancient law. They have the right to travel, but they claim they're driving a car, but they say, no, I'm not driving a car. I'm traveling. In Yeah, it says we have a Reichsbürger. Okay, in Germany. Okay, well, that is something new. Anyway, that I don't. We don't have that kind of stuff in Finland, as far as I'm aware of. Okay. Anyhow, let's go to the shit going on. Okay, so anyway, the article goes on to say the following. The Jane Doe is on leave pending the results of the DFPS investigation, court documents say. Should the investigation find the parents committed abuse, they would be put on the child abuse registry and I quote, improperly subject to all of the effects that flow from such placement, according to the lawsuit. Jane Doe could also face termination and, as a result, lose the family's health coverage, the lawsuit said. The one thing that always bothers me, what always bothers me, that if you don't, that in the US, if you don't have a job, you don't have a health insurance. When you're unemployed, and if you have to go to the hospital, you go bankrupt because it just even a visit to the ER can cost thousands of dollars. And if you're unemployed or work part-time or work at minimum pay job, you cannot afford to go to the ER or see a doctor if you need to. It just amazes me. And you have to go bankrupt, or you can't even go to the doctors and take care of stuff you need to, because in in Europe, in the European system, and as far as I can tell, is to say very much similar in Canada. Everyone has access. Everyone has the equal access to healthcare. It's called universal healthcare. It doesn't matter where you, it doesn't matter where you live, who you are you, do you work, are you retired, are you work life, unemployed, a student, unemployed, whatever. You have the same access to healthcare to some at a reasonable price. Uh, and if you go to the private sector, the state will pay part of it. Uh, for example, recently I used the services of a sector clinic, which private sector clinics are. It's not. They are big, but they what they provide is extra to the general health care, the universal health care. Uh, Dewey says a cop also flipped an SUV, and the driver wasn't speeding as she was pregnant. The cop was a deranged psychopath because he purposely flipped her car for no reason. This also happened in Florida. How am I not surprised? And what really bothers me about the law enforcement institution in the United States of asshole is that it's just a few. Uh, it's just a couple of months, the police training. But here in Finland, every single police officer. Oh, Peter has arrived. Hello, Peter. I'm always so happy to see you around. Anyway, here in Finland, it's a college degree. Uh, every single police officer has a college degree equivalent to a bachelor's degree, and it takes 3.5 years in college to become a police officer here in Finland, and it's mandatory. No, it's non-negotiable. So it's a university of applied. It's not. It's We have this system. The equivalence of college here in Finland is the universities of applied sciences. From high school, you go straight to university, or a university of applied sciences where you can get a bachelor's degree, and then go from there to get a master's degree in a university, or you can go directly to university. Anyway, the every single police officer goes through. They have background checks. They have regular health checks. Uh, they go psychiatric evaluation. Uh, at when they go there and they get background checks. So that was on a tangent. Let's go back. Okay. Uh, the plaintiffs accuse Abbott and Masters, um, the Abbott is the governor, Texas governor, Greg Abbott, and the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, there. Where did I have it? Yeah. The plaintiffs accuse Abbott and Masters of attempting, and I quote, to legislate by press release after the Texas legislature failed, and I quote, failed to pass legislation criminalizing well established and medically necessary treatment for adolescents with gender dysphoria. CNN reached out to the governor's office, Masters Masters and Paxton for comment. President Joe Biden blasted Abbott's order to DFPS, calling the move, and I quote, cynical and a dangerous campaign targeting transgender children and their parents. And Biden went on to write, today, the Department of Health and Human Services has announced several actions to keep transgender children in Texas and their families safe, putting the state of Texas on notice that their discriminatory actions put children's lives at risk. Biden wrote. These announcements make clear that rather than weaponizing child protective services against loving families, children welfare agencies should instead expand their access to gender affirming care for transgender children. Bowie says the police force here happen to be a form of evil. They are racist, transphobic, and homophobic, but Texas is bad. But Texas has it bad, and so does Florida. I can only imagine. So I'm not. What I don't really. Could you, Bowie, explain this to me? I really don't under what what can the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, what can they do? Because here Biden wrote that the Department of Health and Human Services has announced several actions to keep transgender children in Texas and their families safe, putting the state of Texas on notice that their discriminatory actions put children's lives at risk. I do not understand this. I don't understand what this means in practice. Because I don't understand. I don't fully understand how a federal state, a federal state works, because I don't fully understand it. Okay. So can the federal government, namely the Department of Health and Human Services, as well as the federal government, the wider concept of federal government, what can they do? What can Biden's government? What can Biden actually do? Or is it just or is it just an echo chamber? Is it just an echo chamber where Biden or whichever president happens to be, whoever happens to be the president, is it just an echo chamber where they can talk where they can repeat supportive mantras? But can President Biden actually to do anything to help the situation in Texas, Florida, and a number of other states? Please reply in the chat. I'll close the balcony door. It's getting a bit cold. Yeah, but yeah, Bowie says The Texas governor turned Child Protective Services into a weapon, and President Biden is pissed. The Republicans are abusing their power that they are. Okay, let's go into. Okay, I at some point I wanna go through this U.S. Trans Survey of 2022. Uh, we have what I really want to talk about also is the situation in Ukraine, because it's not something that is really close to my heart. Because Finland has a land border with Russia. For those who do not know, and it's 1,320 kilometers long, and for buoy that is about 820 something miles. The last the last I checked, and we have a turmoil. We've had turmoil in the past with Russia, but the last armed threats we had was it during the Second World War. Yes, so, but the problem that transgender and non-binary people are facing in Ukraine is that because they have whatever the hell that is called in English. Excuse me. Because they have the mobilization, they've mobilized it because they have basically they have martial law now. They're in the state of war currently. They can because the state Ukraine is in a state of war. Men between the ages of 18 and 60 or 64 are prohibited from leaving the country. They cannot leave the country because they have basically martial law now. They are in a state of war, so all men must stay and take arms. So basically, trans women, the situation is tough because, as I understand it, Ukraine doesn't have uh, doesn't have the or the option, or it's very difficult to get the gender marker changed to the person's uh, legal documents. Hence, many trans women who may already be fully transitioned but are legally male, they cannot leave the country because they are legally men. And that would be the case for non-binary people too, so who do not identify either man or woman, or those who are legally male must stay in the country and take arms. Okay, but it's not easy for other LGBTQ plus people. Um, but we actually that is well, that is unfortunate. That is the case also for the Russian troops. On the Russian side, the trans women who uh, have already been oppressed must, if the state tells them to, they have to go. So, anyway, from NPR dot um, org, LGBTQ refugees fleeing Ukraine face discrimination in countries with anti-gay laws. Uh, uh, Bowie says no, it's not. What actually? What are you referring? What are you referring to? What are you referring to here? Yes, Russia has laws that discriminates the, that discriminately target the LGBTQ. Yes, they do. Uh, yes, I've been to Russia once a couple of years ago to St. Petersburg, and it was my mom persuaded me to go. We went to St. Petersburg and we spent a day there, but it was quite uh, spicy. It felt was spicy, and it was uh, uncomfortable using um, any bathrooms in in, for example, the restaurant we went to. Excuse me. Yeah. Anyway, St. Petersburg is a nice city, but I wouldn't go there. I might not go there again. So it's a miracle they let me in the country. They let me in the country in the first place. Uh, so, well, they could have said no, but they let me in. That's a miracle. They let me out. Yeah. But regardless, uh, yes, I was back then. I was older. I managed to get my gender marker changed. So a couple of years before that, it would have been a different story. Okay, so back to the article. Late Thursday night, Victoria. Yes, and we are talking about Poland and Hungary mainly, where the refugees from Ukraine are going to. A lot of them are going through Poland as of right now. Poland, which has some anti-LGBTQ legislation in place as of right now, as far as I can tell. And I've spoken about the LGBTQ free zones. Bowie says Russia is similar to North Korea, and the US is similar to Third Reich right now. Sorry. Yes, the last. Well, okay. Let's say this: the Republican states, the Republican states in the U.S. are like the Third Reich right now, in my opinion. People of color are being denied access to Poland as well. Anyway, on Thursday night, Victoria Radvani, communication director for Budapest Pride. Budapest is the capital of Hungary, for those who do not know. Drove with her girlfriend to the border between Hungary and Ukraine. They were picking up 4 LGBTQ refugees and taking them back to Budapest to provide them with safe housing, food, and mental health resources. But Ratmanier isn't part of any humanitarian group, nor does she have experience with refugee resettlement. Yeah, she never thought she'd have to witness a war so close to her home country. Yet, when she heard about the Russian invasion in Ukraine, she immediately knew she had to help. Yeah. And here it starts again. Uh, okay, armed conflict and war aggravate the vulnerability of many minority populations and also people of color, um, and increase the likelihood that they will be exposed to abuse. According to a 2022 report by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, LGBTQ people are likely to face violence, denial of basic services, arbitrary detention, and abuse by security forces, among other kinds of uh, discrimination. And here it is what I talked about. In Ukraine, many transgender women are unable to leave the country because their government IDs still mark them as male, and men are forced to stay and fight under the country's conscription laws. Uh, Women are also fight in Ukraine's military, and people are not expelled for being gay or transgender, although they are not necessarily welcome. Very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Yes, but that is how it goes. About nice things. Then, on the other hand, my patron is Flems. Thank you, Flems, for being my faithful patron. Flems has been a patron of mine for several months now. The link is down in the description box down below. Also, please please check the link to my Patreon, and that is patreon.com/Heidi's Corner. You'll find all kinds of interesting things, interesting tiers from there. Also, there's a one-time offer or a link to my PayPal where you can donate a one-time donation, and I will be organizing a charity live show in whenever I have time, and when I've found a proper an appropriate an appropriate charity, and I will also try to find the means to create a poll to ask you people. I'll find a few suitable charities that I think would be appropriate, and then I'll make a poll of those. I'll ask my viewers which of these, say, 3 or 4 charities that I should then donate to, and I will. People can then donate to my. I'll make a set up a time frame during which from day A to B, say a week, and all the funds donated to my PayPal during that week will be donated to the charity of choice. And I will, of course, provide a receipt from the donation to show you that it has actually gone. The money has actually gone to the charity of choice. This will take maybe another week to get things sorted, or maybe a week, probably less. I'll try my best to get things sorted ASAP to get the donations going. But there are playlist links also in the description, and I think it's in that upper corner you should find cards, all kinds of fun stuff that I have collected in that upper corner. Just there's that. small, tap you can click to find the cards. I I can actually I use TubeBuddy, so I can add the cards beforehand for a live stream beforehand, and I'll then create the end screen later on. Anyway, any questions, commentary, ideas for from that have arisen from today from this live stream? Any suggestions going forward? By the way, people are whining about petrol prices. It's the last I checked, I had to get some petrol for my car yesterday, I think. Yeah, on yesterday on Thursday, and I had to get some petrol for my car. I almost cried. It's €2.26 per liter. That is 8 euros. Sorry, 8.54 US dollars per gallon. So people complain about petrol being $4 a gallon. So fuck you. I heard somewhere the petrol is $6 a gallon, but it's still dirt cheap. It's still dirt cheap if it's €6. Sorry, six US dollars per gallon. It's just dirt cheap. Bowie says Republicans keep passing horrible ideas like the Senate bill, bills. Yes, they do. It's just unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. Just don't get it. I just cannot comprehend. I cannot comprehend. I don't because it's just so baffling because I don't understand. I just cannot understand the mindset. I cannot understand the mindset that makes people to fart these kinds of ideas. It's just so ridiculous. I know something that I talked about on Monday. It's still the fundamentalist Protestant Christianity that is the foundation for American cultural life. Of all the cultural life and all culture, politics, sociological, and the sociology of that is the United States of America is the fundamentalist evangelical Protestant Christianity. If that didn't, if that was just a minority, then things would be just fine, more or less just fine. But since it's the majority, that is that is a problem here. It always comes back to fundamentalist Protestant Christianity in this case. But I really don't. I just talking ranting about politics. It's not what I want from this channel. So I think we could go on and on and on about this. Anyway, it's been an hour. It's been lovely, and I think it's time to go for today. Okay. Uh, I don't know. The yeah, Booby says the power abuse is so annoying. I have never felt more powerless. I want to do something about our Nazi problem, but money talks. Just doing something. Something is pointless. Exactly. Anyway, I invite those who, by the way, again, gender diversity, conversion therapy, etc., are topics that I will debate. If someone comes up, pro. I support the ban of conversion therapy. And the gender diversity. I stand that there are more than two binary genders, and that it's a spectrum. If there's anyone who disagrees with me, please send me an email. I've made several direct invites to individuals, but nothing has ever come up. I'm still waiting for those emails. Still waiting. Anyway, that is Stefan, and that is back. And this is Olaf. He's adorable. Anyway, it's my time to go for today, and I will see you on Monday. My Monday usual slot is for Culture Corner, which is Monday 9 p.m. UK time. And check the links, my Patreon. Thanks, Flems. Please leave a like, thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. And tickle the notification bell to get notified for more content like this. And check my Patreon, PayPal, playlists, Discord, email. All is there in the description box. I will see you Monday. Bye.